Howdy folks, this is Danny with Bulldog Smith Farms and DannyLink's Calling, and I made a video for my friends in the knife and EDC community and shared it over there, and it's about the love and care that they showed me in some very dark times with my health, and how studying on knives and finding this community and how they cared for people, me and many others included, made such a difference in my life. And so I thought I would share it over here as well. It's long, and a lot of people just won't click on it because it's long, but it's very personal, and it's to people, and it shows the kind of love that Jesus says they will know us by. And look, everybody over there is not a Christian. Very diverse crowd, different races, different political beliefs, all kinds of differences, I would imagine, because nobody ever talks about that over there. They talk about their love for knives and one another and EDC gear, and just, it's just fun. But people take care of each other over there too. And I thought that's a great example to us as Christians of how we should be to one another. And we often are not. And that says something, don't it? Jesus said you will know them by their love for one another. So I thought I would just, YouTube doesn't like you to share identical things, so I thought I would put this little thing in the front and put it over here on DannyLink's Calling, so that anybody that cares to can see it over there, and that wants to take the time. It's long, I know, I get that. We're all busy. So you guys take care, and check it out. God bless y'all. Bye. Howdy folks, this is Danny from Bulldog Smith Farms, back at you with another video knife review. I hope y'all don't think I just wear a thing out. But on the other hand, look, I'm just a little old guy over here. I'm a disabled Marine. I make a disability check, all right? So the nice knives that I have, they're a huge investment on my part, as far as a percentage of the money that I make. And so I can't buy 5 knives a week. And I've got a lot of knives that I haven't reviewed, but when you don't have people passing them around to you, and companies sending you knives, and it's just your collection, which is how most of us start, right? It's just how almost every one of the guys that you know that review knives started, with their collection. Maybe a small collection, maybe a giant collection, but started with their collection. And I'm no different than anybody else. So, not complaining. It's just is what it is. So, I don't get 10 knives a week, right? 50 knives a week. I get a few a month, maybe. And so there's a couple things going on, right? They're really special to me, because these are things I've invested in, not something, that just comes in the mail, and just because you get something free does not mean that you don't honestly review it, that your opinion's not valid or honest. It's nothing like that. I'm not saying anything like that. It depends, right? I mean, we know there are people out there like that, but I don't think the vast majority of the people that we like and watch are not like that at all. They just tell you the truth about the knives, and they like it, but here's something I would change, or my buddy Chris, the Unprofessional Dad, I just heard him say it yesterday, I think, on a video, that he's not a knife critic. He's the knife enthusiast. I thought that was a great point. Great point. So what he was saying is, I'm not here to pick a knife apart and call it junk or whatever. Other people I know are really picky, and so they do pick these knives apart, but because they're investing $1,000 or more in a dang knife, right? And so they're just telling you, these are things very important to me, and this knife's just not cutting the mustard. That's valid, right? That is a valid way to go about it. And other people are very forgiving, right? And we're probably talking more about knives that cost $50 to $300, say. Maybe more, but usually in that range, A lot of knives that are $50 and $100, $150. And so you're comparing it to what its neighbors are like, not what somebody that lives across the country. You're comparing it to things like it in its price range. You're not comparing a Civivi to a Sabenza. They're two different things. And even if you're comparing a Sabenza to a Rosie, they're two different things too, right? So you've got to take each thing on its own within the realm of what's out there, right? And then you're adding in, what do I like? That's just your opinion. That's just my opinion, right? I like this. I would change that. I add in some things for guys, ladies, whatever, that are dealing with some health things that I'm dealing with, like hand issues, right? I figure I can't be the only one. I really haven't heard anybody talk about these things, most likely because they haven't been dealing with them. Most of the guys are younger. Man, thank the Lord for all of them. I love everybody. I love all of the guys. That's what it got me to do this, was watching people that I just love. And a few that I was like, man, he does a good job. It's not my style. There's something about it, There are some things I'm a little more sensitive to than your average Joe would be. And, language and some things. So, if it's mild, okay. If it gets kind of out of hand, from my perspective, I usually just bounce on that. But hey, it's their channel. They're in their yard. They can do what they want to in their yard. I'm certainly not standing over here yelling over the fence at them. Don't do that. They're over there in their house cussing, as long as it ain't bothering me over here. I'm not out there by the fence listening to see if I can hear them cussing and yelling at them. You know what I'm saying? I've had a rule forever on Facebook: don't go on other people's pages and argue and fuss with them. That's their page. They can post anything they like. They can believe anything they like. I don't have to agree with none of it. It's going to be okay. I mean, am I wrong? I think if we had mind our own business a little bit more, we'd get along better. You know, it's not our job to convince people of what we believe. It is our job to educate where we can. In the church, then you're in our yard, right? You're a member of our church. Then it is our job to hold you accountable to certain standards. If you're a member of the church, you know, you can pretty much just go into any church in the United States and just sit down, and people are going to say, "Hi, how are you doing? It's nice to meet you." Hopefully, y'all do that. Yeah, go to church. You see people you've never seen in church before. Go say hi, welcome them. But that's probably what you're going to get. There's not going to be somebody standing at the door going, "Do you believe in abortion? What about homosexuality? Oh, well, you don't believe what we believe, so you can't come sit in a church." Hey, if that's happening somewhere, let me know, because I've never heard of nothing like that. But if you want to become a member of the church, then there are standards. You know, you can't be out cheating on your wife 3 nights a week and doing cocaine and robbing the store down the road and be a member in good standing. Right? It's a club. It's a organization, and so there are rules to any organization. If you want to be the Grand Poobah of the, what was it on Flintstones? You know, the Royal Mooses or whatever they were. Dinosaurs was probably something. You know, there's rules. Hey, I've been bass fishing clubs. There was some rules, you know. I wanted to say, and that I appreciate the people in this community so much. And I was on Zach's stuff live today, and it dawned on me that in comment sections, I've mentioned some things about what this community means to me and what they've done in my life. And I've never just got on video and talked about it. I said, I think I'm going to make a video about the people in this community and how they literally saved my life during some really dark days with health and stuff. And somebody else, I wish I could, I'm so terrible at remembering names. It was so, I'm so bad that I got down and got distracted for a second, and by the time I wrote the comment, I couldn't remember the name of the person that commented back to me. And they said, "Me too." You know, like, this community saved my life, literally. And I'm like, I said, "Hey, email me. I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to," I think it was a man. "I'd like to hear your story. If you're seeing this, I'd like to hear your story. I'd like to talk to you about it." And also, something I love about this community, I'm not the only one that's going, "Hey, if you need to talk to somebody, message me, email me, text me, put a comment on a video. We'll talk there. If you want to talk in private, we'll go do that. I'll pray for you." And I mean that. I don't mean in the comment section or on Facebook, I'll put a little pray emoji, and that's the end of it. I've done that. So ask me how I know about that. I've been guilty of that many times. I really try to not do that now. I try to stop right then and pray a little prayer, and then, because my memory's not great because of health stuff, if I can't, and often the Holy Spirit will bring that to your mind later, and I will pray about it again, or often, or a few times, depending on the situation, if I'm reminded of it, if I can remember it, if I know the people, don't know the people, there's all kinds of things involved. But brevity's not my friend, y'all. It's just how it is. My point is, people in this community are really caring. They really care about each other. I've just seen too much evidence of that, and it's rare these days. It's not common. The Lord told us these days were coming, that there would come a day where people's hearts would grow cold. They wouldn't have natural affection for one another. Get a little more light on the situation. I'm like, hey, I got shadows going on over here. Let me see. I think I'm done. There we go. That's a little better. My hat makes a shadow, and but I've seen so much evidence of people helping, which reminds me, I've been distracted 20 times trying to get over and buy a poker chip for Rob's nerdy wife, who's having lots of medical issues, some that I've been through, and sepsis. And let me tell you, son, that's bad. I didn't even know what it was really, except, oh, it's like a infection-y kind of thing, until I had it, and it dang near took me out, and was in a coma for a good while, even longer. I guess I was awake, but I don't remember, for months and months. And I've had it twice, so it's part of why I can't remember stuff. It attacks everything: your brain, your heart, so I thought I would just make a little video about that, and I will try to not make it an hour long. So I really started having health problems when I was pretty young in the Marines. Some things and injuries, and some things I'm not supposed to talk about, but some things that happened set me back at a really young age, and they've caused issues way down the road, where you're like, you didn't even know what caused it, and then you get to talking to enough doctors and explaining stuff, and they go, oh, this has been coming for a long time, and I remember at some point, like maybe months later, going, oh, and connecting dots. That's where this began 35 years ago. Wow. Okay. And I was at Camp Lejeune. That's another thing. But so I've had a lot of unexplainable health problems because I've always been really healthy, very active, hunting, fishing, just nonstop. I mean, I literally had a full-time job at Home Depot, which sometimes was 50 or 60 hours, 70 hours a week, usually 40. I hunted and fished, shot archery and rifles and tournaments, and had a band that I ran. I wasn't just in it. I was management, publishing, artist, musician, booking agent. I did it all, right? A lot of time involved. Probably 50, 60 hours a week doing that. And yeah, you start adding up and you're like, how did you sleep? Not much. That's not much. And I thought I was the man of steel, and I tell people it turned out I was plastic. I might have been good plastic, might have been G10 even, but I broke my body. Old guys warned me about it, and I thought this stuff don't affect me. There was a time in my life where just work. I worked, and I couldn't do anything else at that time. 130, 135 hours a week. Between Sunday and Friday night to Saturday morning, I'd sleep 3 to 5 hours all week. Then I'd sleep all day Saturday, get up Sunday and go again. It didn't seem to affect me for years and years. And then it did. And I started just every 3 or 4 months, I would just crash. Almost died one of those times all my organs were shutting down. My sugar A1C is supposed to be under 7. It was 12 to 14 for about a decade and a half. Again, doctors saying if you don't do something, you're going to die. Got to make money. I got kids to feed and a wife to support, and so I almost died. That was about a month before my daughter was born in 2006. So I would have been 40. And well, 39, almost 40. Because my birthday's in November, so between then and 20, well, and before that I had kidney stones constantly, horrific kidney stones. Then I had so many that some of them wasn't as bad. I was like, oh, this one doesn't make you want to kill yourself. And so then after that, my wife passed away, 40 years old, and I was 50, or almost 50. And I had a 10-year-old daughter and 3 stepchildren, and trying to hold that together. And I had almost died that winter. The VA, I think helping you'll die. They just let things pile up on you and tell you there's nothing wrong with you. One time told me to drive 3 hours to Birmingham when I said I think I'm having a heart attack. And the lady was from Eastern Europe, and she's like, my doctor's nurse practitioner, like lady. The doctor was great, actually, lady doctor, but her assistant, whatever, nurse lady, was from Eastern Europe, and she was like, Mr. Smith, I do not know what to tell you. You need to get in your vehicle and drive to Birmingham. I said, I just told you that I think I'm having a heart attack. That's the answer. There's a lot of that. It's way better now. When Donald Trump got in the first time, he did a lot of the things that every president in my life said they were going to do to fix the VA. Then Joe Biden got in and ruined it again. Well, now Donald Trump's back in, and guess what? They're not spending all the money on trans surgeries. I'll be darned. They got money to help people that are actually veterans that need help. So you can just go see your own doctor. It's taken about 7 years, 8 years to get my health from trying to die every 2 or 3 months to I'm doing great, and I'm doing this because I'm doing great. Went through, my wife passed away. Like I said, almost died that winter. She died on Good Friday, 2017. And then let's see, I'm trying to remember because my memory is okay. Then I had a kidney stone that whole winter and didn't know it. I knew I had it, but I thought it went away. But then I was throwing up 25 times a day and just laying in bed for the whole winter. We were laid off from work for the winter, and I had worked for like 2 months with that kidney stone. Like, it wasn't a horrific one, but they're all bad. And then about the time I was starting to get better, my wife died and broke my heart, shattered my heart, shattered me. You know, that little devil on this shoulder, an angel on this shoulder, and he's going, your wife's gone, she's in heaven, nobody loves you, your daughter don't even want to be with you, she wants to be with her grandparents. I call them the usurpers. You don't have to do anything. Just don't do anything. Next time you can't breathe, just lay the seat back in your truck for a few minutes. You'll be out of here. This little guy over here don't yell at you and don't aggravate you like that guy. Don't wear you out. He just whispers at you every once in a while. And the only thing he ever said was, that little girl needs you. God knew I would need her to need me to just do the bare minimum of getting to the hospital. That's honest truth. The VA said, oh my goodness, it was like being checked into hell when they forced me to go from a not great hospital to Hell Hospital in Birmingham at the VA. Checking in there at like 2 in the morning, with the nurse in charge being just evil. I mean, evil. Like a prison warden. I'm out of my head and in horrific pain, and had sepsis, and they said it didn't get to my heart. Well, months and months of that. Get out of the hospital. They send me home helpless. I can't even get out of bed. An older couple from church drove 3 hours to come get me, help me get out of bed into a wheelchair, help me into their car, and bring me home, and help me into the house where it was just me and my 11-year-old daughter, and a pumping antibiotics to me 24 hours a day that I was supposed to take care of, and I'm out of my mind. I couldn't even think. Tried to go grocery shopping, fell out in Walmart. Thank goodness I had a freezer full of deer meat and stuff like that. And Uh, but when it got a month or two down the road, and I have to go get groceries. And praise the Lord for a small church that I was teaching Sunday school at. I've seen a lot of miracles. I'll tell them stories later. Well, guess what happens just not much longer? Heart failure. Out of nowhere. Never smoked, never did drugs, never drank. Was in a Southern rock band my whole life, and I was always sober. And the only Christian. With one exception. A guy that played band with us towards the end. Played guitar with us. So now this is like Christmas. It's almost Christmas, and I'm in the hospital with my heart. Almost didn't make it to the hospital. I didn't think I was going to make it to the hospital. It was just the Lord that got me to the hospital. Could not breathe. Drove about 4.5, 5 miles without being able to either exhale or inhale. I don't know how I did it. Matter of fact, the whole way I was going, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it out of the parking lot. I'm not going to make it to that light. I'm not going to make it to that curve. I'm not going to make it into the parking lot of the hospital. I'm not. And I just happened to be there instead of at home, where I should have been, because it was pouring rain, and I knew that they would call off work, but they made us come to work anyway. I was going to go to the hospital, but knowing me, I would have said, I'll be all right. It's really rainy outside. And laid there and died, probably. The Lord had something for me to do. And I'm doing some of that right now. Here, on Bulldog Smith Farms, and on DannyLink's Calling. I may try to copy this and put it both places. YouTube don't like that, I don't think, but so down the road a few years, meet my new wife, who God just sent to me like an angel. I would not be alive. Let me tell you all something. Would not be alive if God didn't send me my wife. Got me away from the VA. It took us years to find a good doctor, and then that would work with us and get me to specialists and unpack all the stuff the VA had let pile up. And messing with my new T-Kill, which I love, and it's breaking in really good. It's getting easier. Let me think, because that's 4 times that I almost died already. And it's 2018, 2019. And I was so weak. And I got weaker and weaker and weaker. And went out here one day, there's a cornfield through a little patch of woods. And I was just going to ease out there in that little patch of woods and just check that cornfield out, see if deer came out there, you know. And fell. I couldn't get up. Briars everywhere. I had to just crawl through briars to get to a little sapling I could pull myself up, when I finally got enough strength to do that. And it was just on and on, stuff like that. Hunting season, I got out in the woods and got a little too overexerted and almost didn't make it out of the woods. And oh my goodness, it all runs together. There's another couple times where my wife sat in the hospital with me for weeks on end. I can't remember what year that was. See, as I go along, it gets harder to remember. the last time, this last 2.5 or so years, that's brought me to this. And what I'm talking to y'all about is was my ankle and my foot just turning over on its side. Nobody would listen to me. Nobody would heed the warnings. Doctors went to everybody. Everybody just ignored me until it was my ankle literally just collapsed and my foot was just rolling over. And then they were like, "Oh my God, yeah, we know what this is. Why hadn't you talked to somebody about it?" It's been coming for a long time from an old injury. And that turned into sepsis. Then kidney failure. 3 wound care. Almost losing my foot. Heart. Before that, I ended up almost dying with my heart again and getting a pacemaker defibrillator. Turns out I had a terrible heartbeat this whole time, and the doctors just ignored me. I needed a pacemaker that whole time. They were going to send me home with a life vest that would shock me back because the insurance requires it before they put in a pacemaker. Until they found out that I had been having these episodes where I'd just be walking in the kitchen or something and just the whole world would just go crazy, and I'd have to grab the counter, grab the wall, grab the couch, whatever. And I said, I just can't even explain it. It's so extreme. It's just like a wave rushes over me, just whoosh. And I just, the whole world goes crazy, and then I stand there for a minute and everything calms down and I'm okay. And they said, that's how many times has that happened? And I said, good Lord, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week for a year and a half. And my cardiologist was a young doctor. He had called in all the older doctors to help figure out what was going on. And they all looked at each other like, oh my God, and they kind of talked over there. And then they came back and they said, you've got something that we call aborted sudden death syndrome. All right. Okay, that don't sound good. That don't sound good. And they said most people don't make it through one of them. The people that do almost never make it through one more, maybe 2 more at the most. And you're telling us over a period of a year and a half, you've had 2 or 3 a week. I mean, hundreds of those things. Can't remember the word. I lose words too. And so they rushed me right in and put a pacemaker in because my heart was all erratic and all kinds of problems. So, lots of almost dying. Lots of my bulldog nature fighting to come back. Every time I'd almost die, when I got home from the hospital, I would just force myself to do projects, force myself to plant garden. My wife's got pictures of me sitting in the garden, scooching, digging a hole, planting a plant, putting in fertilizer, dragging my stuff with me, scooching. Just determined I'm gonna come back from this. And the last time was months of hospital, 3 different times, rehab, months of rehab, and many more months of bed, being restricted to bed. And then at least another year of being restricted to this little room upstairs, because we have up and downstairs. I couldn't go up and downstairs. When we got home, I crawled up the stairs because I was not going to live in the living room in a dadgum hospital bed after all that horrible hospital bed already. So I crawled up the stairs so I could sleep in my bed, and so this is where I was for 2 years. I just drove a vehicle by myself the first time about a month and a half ago, in 2.5 years. During all that, I said all that to say this. During all that, I was so weak, and so my favorite thing is my strength and my will, stubborn will to do right. Thank the Lord for getting hold of me at a young age and funneling that in a positive direction instead of a negative direction. Because I know a lot of people, including some of my children, that are stubborn about doing what's wrong. I didn't think it literally. I didn't, but the way I've interpreted it is not concentrating on what I couldn't do, but concentrating on what I could do. And I couldn't walk. I was supposed to lay in bed 23.5 hours a day with the doctor said, my toes above my nose, elevated. Or I was going to lose a foot. So you ever had to spend days in bed, day, night for a few days, and you just get more depressed and more depressed as time goes on? A lot of that. And I'm a man of faith. Have been since I was a kid. That's the Lord. That ain't me. That's His doing. I suck on my own. If Danny gets his way, it's bad. God gets His way, it's good. But pretty hopeless, helpless, hopeless, useless, no purpose. We need a purpose. God made us to work, to have a purpose. I said, well, what I am good at is learning, and YouTube's a good place to learn. These days, it's miraculous. You can use it for good. And so I was like, I love knives. I've had a few collectible, like John Deere cases and a few fixed blades. You know, I've always collected a little of this, a little of that. Mainly things to remember places I've been. Or things that mean something to me, or people that mean something to me. Places. And I thought, I'll start checking new knives out. And man, I found this whole world of new steel technology and new knife companies. I had never heard of Microtech. I knew Benchmade. And to me, Benchmade was the best knife I'd ever owned. I bought my first Benchmade in 2002, and I was like, I can't believe I just spent $100 on a knife. But it's an awesome knife, right? Sharpest knife I'd ever seen out of the box. And at 12, I could make a knife shave the hair on your arm. But, you know, a 12-year-old's arm. Pretty soft there. And so for me to be shocked by how sharp a blade was, but out of the box, I mean, right out of the box, you know, was something else. They really impressed me. So that was that. And buying a case knife in 2002 that cost $37, and I was shocked how much they'd went up, was the last time I had seriously bought any knives, because I spent from there to 2017 non-stop working. No life, work. So no hobbies, no toys, none of that, just work all day, all night, all day, all night, all day, all night, just going. And so when I started looking at, well, first off, there was a guy on Facebook selling knives, Benchmades and Microtechs and all kinds of cool knives, right? And they were like way less than what I was seeing them online. First off, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? $250 for a knife and $500 for a knife, and, you know, even $150 for a knife? Are you kidding me? And then he's selling these knives for like $45. And I'm like, how in the world are you doing that? Oh, I have somewhere, some place I get them. Well, now I know what was going on, right? He disappeared off Facebook at some point. And I wonder why. And he lived right here, close to me. Which was the reason I was talking to him. I was like, well, he's right here. I can just wait. I can go talk to him, look at the knives. Didn't even know there was such thing as counterfeit knives. I hope he got caught. I mean, hey, I never met the guy, so maybe I'm completely wrong, but I learned a lot since then. So I was absolutely taken aback by what knives cost. But it gave me something to concentrate on and learn and dig into, and the more I dug, the more I realized there was to learn and all that. And I love archaeology. I study it all the time, especially like biblical archaeology and history. Love history, and stories and storytelling. And so I had plenty to look at, learn about, think about. But knives was really the thing. See, because gardening had been my thing before that. I really poured myself into farming and planting and growing stuff and big, beautiful tomatoes and peppers and all kinds of stuff. And I couldn't do that, right? But I could look at knives, and I was like, I'll start collecting knives, and spent money I shouldn't have spent. My wife's all mad at me, and I'm spending money, and I'm like, I mean, I can just sit in that chair right there and die. That's what it was down to. I could just sit in that chair and just stare at the TV while, you know, she goes on about living life, getting up, going to work, coming home, kind of overwhelmed because she's having to take care of me, you know. But living life, right? And not understanding what it's like to just be in your head all the time. And thank the Lord for all of my friends are preachers. So all my close friends these days are all preachers. And so good counsel. One of my buddies is a preacher, and he's the hospice chaplain. And so he sees this stuff all the time. And so he helped me understand that you're living in your brain, in your mind all the time, and it'll mess you up. And it's spiritual, you know. And the devil's attacking you all the time, and trying to do what he's trying to do to Job, get you to reject God. And kind of like that ain't happening, but I don't dare the devil to do nothing no more. I've had enough trial. Not that there ain't more coming, but I'm not asking for them. So in doing that, that was cool. And collecting some knives, that was cool. But I had done the YouTube thing about farming and other things, and so I had learned comment sections and that stuff, and so started getting in the comment sections, and I met all you guys, and the kindness was intoxicating. The kindness was very winsome, and people were kind to me. I saw people being kind to each other. I had completely quit Facebook because people were just savaging each other over there. And early on, I thought I could use it for good purposes, and then realized that, no, you're just getting sucked into savage fights. And trying to protect people from the savages in the comment sections, because I had a huge Facebook following at one time, and it seemed like I got to where I was just playing referee all the time. And so I literally just shut it off and let all that go. And so to see people in comment sections not arguing, not fussing, probably have different beliefs, different political ideologies, different faith or no faith, all kinds of people, men, women, race is irrelevant. Nobody even cares. Nobody knows and nobody cares. And I'm like, that's me. I don't care. These are all just surface things that don't matter when it comes to what Jesus said: love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love God with your whole heart, soul, and mind is the first of his 2 commandments, and love your neighbor. The 10 commandments breaks down to love God and love your neighbor. And if you look at them, they're in order. Love God is at the top, because you have to do that first. And then that gives you the ability to love your neighbor, your spouse, your children. And loving don't mean always agreeing with and not telling them they're doing wrong. So I really came to love the people in this community because of that. And then to see people, somebody's going through something, Illuminati and his wife come to mind. Right now, Rob from Rob's Nerdy Knives comes to mind, and his wife. But they're not the only ones. I've seen it a bunch of times. People helping people. And look, I don't have much to help with. But if I can buy a pocket knife every once in a while, I surely could pitch a little money in. I try to give to a couple charities that I trust and align with. So this community, when I say it saved my life, it's like saved me from despair, right? Gave me friends. I mean, I'm just here. It's just me, all day, every day, and my wife's at work, and now her father-in-law, my father-in-law, her daddy has dementia, and is living with us, guess what? She, instead of coming and spending time with me, or she has to take care of him because he kind of needs supervision all the time. So we've worked through some of that and tweaked so we give each other time. You know, that was hard too. But on the other hand, praise the Lord for having time with people you love, because you don't know when it's going to end. You don't know when their last day or your last day is going to be. Ask me how I know. So that's it. I love you guys. When I know people probably go, that's just a thing you say, is I love you, I'm praying for you. No, it's for real. I know guys are like, you don't tell guys you love them. I do. Because I really do. I really think the world of y'all. And a lot of men have a hard time with that. And women have a hard time with it because they think you're flirting with them when you're just being kind. You know, hey guys, I've flirted with women my whole life. Even when I was married, I wasn't flirting for a purpose. I was just being Southern. You know, it's how my dad and my pop always were, you know. Hey, darling. Hey, honey. How you doing? You know, just kind. It's being kind. But you can care about people without even knowing much about them. You can care about people. Jesus said, "Love your neighbors." He explained who your neighbors are. Read the, and most of you, if you're a Christian, you know the Good Samaritan, and most people know that just because a lot of our language comes straight out of the Bible. You know that story. Who was the neighbor to the man that was laying on the side of the road, beat up and robbed and nearly dying? His fellow Jewish neighbors, or the Samaritan who the Jews hated, who helped this Jewish man? Who was the neighbor? The Samaritan was his neighbor. He helped him. He loved him. And I'm doing a whole thing. Hopefully now, it may wait till tomorrow. Next Sunday, I'm going to try to have it done on Sunday. It might be Monday, though. It depends on how this works out. On compassion. I'm going to do a teaching on compassion. So, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Y'all really mean a lot to me. I hope to meet many, many more of you as time goes on. I really want to go to Blade Show. I'm 2.5 hours from Atlanta, but with money and my father-in-law, and I gotta have microphones if I'm going to be able to record there in that noisy place. Can I afford to buy them and go? Can I afford either? I don't know. But I really want to go. Even if I just, I'm not going to be able to buy a knife this year. Not even one. But if I can just go and hang out and talk to some of y'all, meet some of you, and put a person with the name, I really want to. It might have to be next year. I went last year for the first time, and wow, is it awesome. I'm going to see if I can get some money, but maybe not. Probably not, but I'm going to try. So, I'm going to leave it at that, and because I know this has went on forever, but a few of you will actually want to hear this, and I will make a much shorter version but I've said it in little spurts so many times. Most of you have heard that, I would think. And so I wanted to actually do a real kind of thing on it. To actually just tell a story instead of it just being a thing that you think somebody's just saying it. So, remember, keep your powder dry and your blade sharp, because we are living in perilous times, y'all. And God bless y'all. And I'll see you back next time at Bulldog Smith Farms. How about that?